I'm an S-rank Omega, and since childhood, I've been engaged to Baylor. It was set in stone, only his pheromones could calm me down, until the day he used them again, not to comfort me, but to toy with me. That night, I turned around and knocked on his uncle's door. After all, Baylor isn't the only S-rank alpha in this world. In the dark, the man's fingers brushed the back of my neck, tracing the heat of my glands. His tone was lazy, almost amused. Once I mark you, that little nephew of mine will probably hate me forever. I curled up in Dawson's arms. But uncle, your body seems to be saying something else. He'll get mad, please. With just a bit of pheromone, I could make him crawl to me like a dog. No wonder Baylor's so smug. Having an S-rank Omega who obeys him so well, makes you kinda jealous. Baylor's voice came from inside the VIP room, each word cutting into me like a knife. Every sentence dug deeper, until it felt like my heart was bleeding. He's supposed to be S-rank, but I don't see what's so special about him. Sure, he's got a decent face, but as for serving someone, others do it better. There was open disdain in Baylor's tone, like I was something filthy. My hand froze on the door handle. Honestly, I should thank that little Omega who sent me those photos today. Thank him for showing me exactly what I meant to Baylor. If he weren't S-rank, I'd have dumped him ages ago. He's cold in bed, always acting so pure. Says he'll only do it after we're married. Who's he putting on that act for? Baylor's words oozed irritation. Someone clinging to him quickly added, maybe he thinks he's somebody now. Doesn't even realize what kind of background he comes from. Another voice chimed in. Exactly. Without Baylor, where would he be? Shouldn't he be grateful instead of playing hard to get? I didn't listen anymore. I shoved the door open. Every gaze in the room swung toward me. Faces changed, surprise, fear, guilt. Even Baylor looked startled for a second, but he quickly recovered. He leaned lazily against the Omega beside him, like nothing had happened. With his attitude leading the way, everyone else pretended I wasn't even there. I pressed my lips together and walked straight up to him. What are you doing here? Did Grandma send you again to speak for her precious boy? Even slouched in the sofa, Baylor was disgustingly good-looking. I clenched my fists, hesitated for a long time, and finally said, Baylor, let's call off the engagement. The room went silent. No one seemed to believe I'd actually said it, not even Baylor. He let out a short laugh. Call off the engagement? Brooks, does your dad, the one who begs my family for money every other day, know about this? Without me, who's gonna keep funding him? That wasn't exactly a secret. Everyone knew my father used our engagement to get money from Baylor's family. I couldn't deny it. I'll handle that. I'll return every cent. But our engagement ends here. Money's easy. But tell me, how do you plan to survive your next heat without me? Did you forget how much you crave my pheromones? You used to beg at my feet for them. I remembered. He loved using his pheromones to torture me. S-rank Omegas can only be soothed by S-rank alphas, but alphas like him can find comfort from anyone they want. It's never been a fair game, especially with someone like Baylor. I bit my lip, refusing to recall those humiliating nights. This has nothing to do with you anymore, Baylor. Even if I die, I won't keep this engagement. Maybe he realized I meant it, because his face changed. He pushed away the Omega beside him and stood up. He was tall, a whole head above me. Standing face to face, I already felt small. Baylor reached out, tapping my cheek lightly before suddenly gripping the back of my neck, pressing hard on my gland. Pain shot through me, and I frowned. Someone in the room hadn't restrained their pheromones. The air felt heavy, suffocating. Brooks, he said slowly, maybe you didn't get it. Even if this engagement ends, it ends when I say so. Got that? Why? He let out a mocking laugh. Because you only exist thanks to me, that's why. His pheromones spilled into the room, thick and overbearing. Every unmedicated Omega began to tremble, their breathing unsteady, dangerously close to slipping into heat. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I refused to flinch, refused to make a sound. My eyes burned red, but I didn't cry. Baylor stared at me for a long moment, maybe expecting me to beg. When I didn't, he finally looked away, as if I wasn't worth his attention anymore. Baylor finally let go of my neck. If you can convince your family to call off the engagement, maybe I'll let you go. But that's a big if. I bent down slightly, struggling to stay clear-headed. Before coming here, I'd already injected myself with a suppressant, but it didn't stop Baylor's pheromones from pulling me right into heat. Fine. Just before I completely lost control, I stumbled out of the room, holding on to the last bit of sanity I had left. My neck burned, my chest felt heavy and restless. Every step was a fight not to collapse. And then, right when my knees were about to give out, a hand grabbed my arm. Strong, steady. It kept me from falling. I looked up, a stranger. As an Omega, I knew better than to let anyone near me during heat. Bad things could happen. There were too many people out there who'd take advantage of that. So I tried to pull away, but the man spoke in a calm, businesslike tone. "Hello, I'm Mr. Dawson's assistant. He's waiting outside and asked me to bring you to him." Even through my hazy mind, I knew exactly who he meant. Baylor's uncle, Dawson, the man who actually held power in their family. This audio is originally produced by the YouTube channel, Omegaverse Tales Studio. Please credit when sharing. But, why would he want to see me? I'm not really in the best condition right now. There's a suppressant in the car, the man interrupted. You can use it if you need to. I hesitated, unsure of what waited for me, but honestly, Dawson sounded a lot more trustworthy than Baylor ever did. "Alright, thank you." He helped me out of the club. A black Maybach was parked by the curb, sleek and silent. The rear window rolled down, and my gaze met the man inside. A calm, expressionless face. Eyes cold enough to make my back go tense. The car door opened. I climbed in carefully, sitting straight. "Good evening, Uncle." Dawson leaned back in the leather seat, radiating quiet authority. Even now, he made me nervous. He always had. Some people looked gentle on the outside, but you just knew they'd done whatever it took to sit at the top. Suddenly, he leaned forward, opened a small compartment, and pulled something out. His eyes, sharp behind his glasses, focused directly on me. "You need help?" That's when I saw what he was holding. A suppressant. The best kind, top grade. I'd seen it before in Baylor's hands, but he'd never given it to me. "Too expensive," he'd said. I hesitated, then reached out. "No need, thank you, Uncle." Still, I took it and quickly prepared the injection. After all the times Baylor had toyed with my body using his pheromones, I'd learned how to handle suppressants better than anyone. He used to release his scent just to push me to the edge, then walk away before giving any comfort. That's why I'd gotten used to handling the aftermath alone. When the suppressant started working, I finally felt my body calm down. I gathered the used materials, intending to toss them later. When a large hand appeared in front of me, Dawson's palm was open, waiting. I blinked, confused, but placed the small packet in his hand. He threw it neatly into the trash bin. "Thank you, Uncle." He tilted his head slightly. "Aren't you planning to end the engagement? Why still call me Uncle?" His voice was deep, smooth, mature, nothing like Baylor's. I bit my lip. "It's not official yet, so, I guess I still can." He chuckled softly. Not mocking, not annoyed, just quietly amused. I stayed silent, curling up a little in my seat. We didn't really have anything to talk about, and with someone like him, saying too much was dangerous. Dawson didn't press further. He just told the driver to go. The car glided smoothly into traffic. As the club disappeared behind us, I finally felt like I could breathe again. Now I had to think about how to convince my family to agree to the breakup. With our family status, we never should have been tied to someone like Baylor's in the first place. But then I turned out to be an S-rank Omega, the perfect match to stabilize Baylor's pheromones. So they'd raised me in his house, sealing our engagement when we were kids. Back then, Baylor wasn't so bad, but something changed. Maybe the day he realized I couldn't live without him. From that moment on, he became untouchable, looking down on me like I was nothing, as if I chose to be born this way. If I could, I'd rather be a plain old beta, no pheromones, no chains. "We're here." Dawson's voice brought me back. I looked out and saw the gate to my house. "Thank you, Uncle." I opened the door and stepped out. "Brooks." His voice stopped me. I turned back. "Yes, you want to end the engagement," he said slowly. "I can help you." "But..." I met his eyes, confused. He turned the ring on his finger, gaze locked on me, sharp, unreadable. "But what? Businessmen don't do favors for free," he said. "If you want something from me, you'll have to give something in return." His tone was calm, but there was something dangerous in it, something tempting. I knew whatever he wanted, it wouldn't be cheap. So I bowed slightly. "Thank you, Uncle, but I think I'll handle it myself." Dawson smiled faintly. "No rush. Think about it. You have my number. Call me anytime." I opened my mouth but could only nod. "All right." Not that I ever would. Whatever deal he had in mind, it wasn't one I could afford to make. Our paths should end here. Dawson was powerful, too powerful, and I was smart enough to know, men like him could never be controlled. I watched the Maybach pull away, then turned and walked inside. The moment I stepped into the hall, a glass came flying at me. It hit me square on the forehead. Pain pulsed across my temple. "Who told you to break off the engagement? Think you're grown now?" Baylor really didn't waste any time snitching. I hadn't even made it home yet, but my father already knew everything. I bent down and picked up the glass that had smashed on the floor. "No matter what you say," I said evenly, I've decided to call off the engagement. You've already gotten plenty out of this deal. Don't be too greedy. Brooks, what kind of tone is that? He slammed his fist on the table. I raised you, gave you food, sent you to school, and found you such a good match. And now you think you can just walk away? Forget it, that's not happening. I met his glare head on. If you think I'll stay just because you said so, then you're the one dreaming. I turned to head for my room. There was no point arguing, we'd been through this too many times. Stop right there. His voice turned sharp. If you don't listen to me, I'll throw away every single thing your mother left you. I froze. You always use her to threaten me. I snapped, spinning back toward him. He just smiled, that smug little smirk he always had. As long as it works, why not? Now go apologize to Baylor, he ordered. Tell him you've changed your mind. Not happening. Brooks, don't make me hit you. In the end, he kicked me out of the house. I wasn't surprised. I knew exactly how he worked. Once he got angry, he'd make sure no one in the family had peace until he got his way. I sighed. His house wasn't far from Baylor's, but they might as well have been worlds apart. And of course, Baylor was waiting. Well, he called from the second-floor balcony, smirking down at me. Didn't you act all tough when you dumped me? What, coming to beg now? Brooks, when will you ever stop disappointing me? Seeing his smug face made my blood boil. Then I spotted the villa next door, Dawson's villa, and without thinking, I flipped Baylor the middle finger. Who said I came to see you, idiot? I didn't wait for his reply and headed straight toward Dawson's place. You're listening to Omegaverse Tales Studio, a YouTube channel dedicated to captivating short stories. Let's continue. He'd moved out of the family mansion long ago, which now worked perfectly in my favor. Baylor's voice followed me, laced with mockery. You're really going to Uncle's? I'd think twice if I were you. He leaned on the balcony rail. When he kicks you out, don't come crying to me. Tell you what, get on your knees and beg, and maybe I'll pretend none of this ever happened. I ignored him and kept walking. By the time I reached Dawson's door, I was ready to knock. But the door opened first. His butler stood there with a polite smile. Mr. Brooks, he said. Mr. Dawson has been waiting for you. Please, come in. I blinked, surprised, but followed him inside anyway. From the balcony, Baylor's voice turned panicked. Brooks, don't you dare go in there. I didn't even look back. He shouted again, furious now. Do you hear me? If you go in there, we're done, forever. Perfect. I stepped into Dawson's living room, the butler quietly following behind me. He gestured toward the stairs. Mr. Dawson is waiting for you in the study. I nodded and began to climb. Each step echoed softly under my shoes. By then, I knew there was no turning back. And honestly, Baylor wouldn't let me turn back even if I wanted to. He'd always hated Dawson, probably because Dawson was the only one who'd ever had the guts to beat sense into him. I'd seen it once when we were teenagers, Dawson losing patience and giving Baylor the kind of lesson that left an impression. It was satisfying, actually. Too bad Baylor had learned to behave around him after that. I stopped at the study door and knocked lightly. Come in, came Dawson's low voice. When I entered, he was calmly flipping through some documents, not at all like a man who'd been waiting for me. Or maybe he'd just known I'd show up. Annoying noise, he muttered. My heart skipped a beat before realizing he wasn't talking about me, he meant Baylor shouting outside earlier. I pressed my lips together, standing still like a scolded student. You're not going to say anything? He asked without looking up. Or are you waiting for me to start the conversation? You already know why I'm here, Uncle. He looked up then, a faint smile curving his lips, rare for him. It threw me off for a second. If you don't tell me, he said, how would I know? He took off his glasses and set them aside. Without them, his gaze was sharper, more intense, the kind that pinned you in place. I swallowed hard. I came to ask for your help, to end the engagement with Baylor. My voice came out quieter than I wanted, so I added quickly, I'll do anything you ask in return. He tapped his fingers on the desk, each soft thud sounding way too loud in the silence. I'll help you, he said finally, on one condition, marry me. I froze. My head shot up, and our eyes met, his calm, steady, and completely serious. He wasn't joking. Dawson stood, walked around the desk, and lifted my chin between his fingers, studying my face like he was assessing a deal. It wasn't leering, just cool, deliberate. You know I'm an S-class alpha too, he said slowly, and I don't have a partner. You suit me, it would be mutually beneficial. But, no buts, he interrupted. You need an S-class alpha to help you manage your cycles. I can do that. He wasn't wrong. S-class alphas were rare, which was why Baylor always thought he had control over me. There were only two in our city, him and Dawson. Either one could stabilize my pheromones. But between the two, I knew which one I'd rather be around. Alright, I said quietly. I agree. Dawson raised an eyebrow, surprised. So quick? Not even going to think it over? I smiled faintly. You're decisive, uncle. If I hesitated, wouldn't that make me ungrateful? He chuckled, then took my hand and slipped a ring from his own finger onto mine. It was far too big, slid right off. Before he could get annoyed, I quickly caught it and said, I'll wear it on a chain instead. Good boy, he murmured. Go home. I'll handle the rest. I exhaled, feeling a strange lightness settle over me. As I walked down the stairs, my steps felt almost weightless. Who would have thought so much could change in just one day? 12. I actually ended up with a new fiancé. After that day, I had no idea what Dawson told the family, but somehow, the engagement cancellation went through. That night, I started getting messages from Baylor. None of them were pleasant. I read one or two, then blocked him. Everywhere. Phone, social media, email, all blocked. When my dad heard I was marrying Dawson instead, he practically lit up with joy. I thought you'd really given up on marrying Rich, he said, grinning. Didn't expect you'd go for Dawson instead. Good choice. He's way better than Baylor. I ignored him. My gaze drifted toward Dawson's house in the distance. He hadn't contacted me again, not a single call or message. Almost like that night never happened. But when my fingers brushed the necklace around my neck, the one holding his ring, I knew it wasn't a dream. He really gave it to me. So why hasn't he reached out? Did he change his mind? 2 days later, as I was about to head out, a familiar car pulled up in front of the house. Go grab your ID, Dawson said through the open window. I blinked. Why? He smiled, voice smooth and casual. We're getting our marriage certificate. I was stunned the entire way there. And when we walked out of the registry office, holding the red marriage booklets, I still couldn't believe it. Just like that, we were married. I'd imagined this kind of scene before, but always with Baylor. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it'd be Dawson. Before I could process it, he took the marriage certificate from my hands and casually laced his fingers through mine. His hand was large and warm, my brain just stopped working. I'll keep the certificate safe, he said with a soft smile. Now, let's go pack up your things. Pack? For what? He tilted his head. Mrs. Dawson, newlyweds are supposed to live together. Or do you want separate houses? My face heated instantly. And no, that's fine. Good, he said, smirking slightly. I'll help you move later. 13. When I started packing, my dad noticed. What are you doing? Moving out. He froze. Moving? Where? You're just gonna abandon your old man. I blinked. When did I ever say that? Besides, I was married now. Of course I was moving out. Dawson was literally waiting outside. I didn't say I'd abandon you, I sighed. If I really didn't care, I'd have ended the engagement long ago. You knew Baylor treated me terribly, but you still pushed me toward him, just so you could get money, right? Brooks, what kind of nonsense is that? He shouted. If I hadn't arranged that engagement, you think you'd have the life you've got now? Baylor treated you fine. I didn't bother arguing. It was pointless. He never listened anyway. When I finished packing, I pulled my suitcase toward the door. Luckily, I didn't have much stuff. Dawson wouldn't have to wait long. Honestly, today made me see him a bit differently. Maybe he wasn't as cold as everyone said. Of course, someone just had to make things harder. My dad blocked the door again. I asked where you're going. This story is exclusively produced by the YouTube channel, Omegaverse Tales Studio. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. 14. To Dawson's, I said, giving him a sweet smile. You wanna come with me? Or should I save a room for you there? Didn't you always want to live in that fancy villa? That one hit a nerve. He'd been talking about it for years. How much he wanted to move into the main estate. But no one in that family ever gave him the time of day. He was lucky they even let him live nearby. His face twitched. Well, you two aren't even officially married yet. Isn't it too early to move in? I let out a dry laugh. Who knew he'd suddenly learn to care about propriety now? I always thought he'd be thrilled to see me climb into a rich man's bed. This has nothing to do with you, I said. And stop asking them for money. If you need anything, I'll handle it. He chuckled. Ha, sure. They act rich, but they're stingy as hell. Dawson better not be like that. I didn't answer. I wasn't planning to ask Dawson for a dime anyway. I had a job now. I could make my own money. I'm leaving. Text me if you need something, I said finally. Alright. I wheeled my suitcase out the door. Dawson's car was still waiting. I glanced at the time. I hadn't taken long. Hopefully he wasn't annoyed. My stomach twisted a little as I approached. Just as I was about to tell the driver to pop the trunk, the door opened. Dawson stepped out, took my suitcase with one hand, and tossed it effortlessly into the back. That's all you brought? 15. I nodded quickly, flustered. Why yeah, I don't have much. He nodded. Good. The house already has everything you'll need. If anything's missing, we'll buy it later. I followed him to the car, sitting straight and stiff like a nervous school kid. You seem scared of me, Dawson said, amusement lacing his voice. The corners of his mouth curved into a half-smile, like he was watching something entertaining. I suspected he was teasing me. It wasn't exactly a secret that I'd always been afraid of him. Even now, after everything, the instinct was still there. And no, I'm not, I muttered. He raised a brow. Liar. Then why ask if you already know? Did he just want to catch me lying? Suddenly I realized, this was his sense of humor. Teasing me was fun for him. For some reason, that thought made me relax a little. Maybe even bold enough to joke back. He prompted. I froze. What was I supposed to call him now? Little uncle sounded way too weird now that we were married. Who on earth calls their husband uncle? You don't know what to call me, do you? Dawson said, clearly amused. Smart as always, he could read me like an open book. Yeah, I admitted. What should I call you? He leaned closer, his voice dropping low. You tell me, what do you want to call me? My heart skipped. If I could come up with something, I wouldn't have asked in the first place. I stammered, how about, still calling you uncle? 16. So, did you marry my nephew or what? I nearly choked on air when Dawson said that. It wasn't fair, he was the one who told me to say it in the first place. We'd just gotten our marriage certificate today, and he expected me to switch how I called him right away. Not happening. Besides, it's not like there's anything real between us yet. You're the one who told me to say it, and now you're mad, so no matter what I do, I'm wrong, huh? Before I could pull away, Dawson hooked his fingers around mine, then closed his hand over mine completely. He started rubbing his thumb across my knuckles, slow and deliberate, like he was touching some kind of precious stone. Don't pout, he said, voice low and lazy, like he was murmuring to a lover. I almost choked again. Pout? Seriously? Old man's been around too many business dinners, not enough men. How could that be called pouting? But fine, if he wanted to play it that way, I'd throw the question right back at him. Then what should I call you, huh? If you can't decide, I'll just keep calling you uncle. Dawson gave a quiet, amused hum. As you wish. Call me that for now, we'll change it later. Fine. When the car stopped in front of the villa, the butler came to unload our luggage. I thought that was finally the end of this exhausting day, until someone decided to ruin the peace. A familiar, grating voice came from the gate. Brooks, get out here. I need to talk to you. Both Dawson and I turned toward it. The arrogance on Baylor's face instantly vanished when he saw Dawson, replaced by sheer terror. Guess he remembered getting his butt kicked as a kid. He still tried to sound tough, though. Brooks, I said, come out. I was about to tell him to shove it when Dawson's hand found mine again, giving it a gentle squeeze. Quiet comfort. What do you want with your aunt? Dawson asked calmly. I'll listen too. 17. Baylor's expression turned uglier than week-old leftovers. I couldn't help it. I felt good. Usually, he was the one making me miserable. Seeing him flounder like this, delicious. Still, he didn't back off. Somehow, he'd found the guts to talk back to Dawson. Uncle, you haven't even gotten your marriage license yet. How's he my aunt? And he's fake as hell. You shouldn't trust him. I saw red. This guy was unbelievable. Couldn't handle losing me, so now he's slinging dirt. I was about to swing at him when Dawson pulled me back again. Then, to my absolute shock, he reached into his pocket and pulled out our freshly issued marriage certificate. Actually, we just registered today, Dawson said calmly. So yes, he's your aunt now. Go on, call him properly. Baylor's face went through the full color palette, red, white, green, then black. If fury had a sound, he was making it. When did you get that license? Baylor, Dawson said evenly, watch your tone. If you can't, I'll help your parents teach you some manners. That shut him up real quick. But even then, he didn't leave. Instead, his gaze locked on me. 18. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I thought I saw regret, and maybe even pleading, in his eyes. Then I shook the thought off. No way. Baylor and regret don't belong in the same sentence. Uncle, I'm tired, I said quietly. Dawson glanced at me, then took my hand and led me toward the house. Baylor twitched, like he wanted to follow. But Dawson had already turned and said, calm as ice. If you take one more step inside, you'll be on a plane out of the country tomorrow. Baylor froze on the spot, didn't dare move. I couldn't stop the little spark of satisfaction in my chest. So the mighty Baylor was actually scared of Dawson, huh? Fine by me. We were married now, and whatever happened between Dawson and me later, at least I'd have that to shut Baylor up. Upset? Dawson asked suddenly, voice mild. Because you didn't get to talk to him alone. His tone was so flat, so neutral. But was that jealousy I heard? No way. I looked at him again. Nope. Impossible. Dawson getting jealous? That'd be more shocking than me waking up rich tomorrow. Nah, I said with a small smile. Just annoyed I didn't get to clap back properly. Feeling bad for Baylor? That'd be cruel to the me he used to humiliate. He wasn't worth a single emotion. Good, Dawson said simply, then went upstairs. His sudden mood shift left me dazed. The butler rolled over my luggage and grinned. Sir's just jealous, he whispered. You should go cheer him up. What? Great. Apparently, I wasn't the only crazy one in this house. 19. I didn't know if Dawson was actually jealous. But what I didn't expect was that he didn't plan on separate rooms. As in, same room, same bed. By the time night rolled around, I was one big ball of nerves. And then, right before bed, I saw a new message pop up from Baylor. I stared at it, disbelief turning to pure exasperation. Seriously, what was wrong with that guy? You'd think he'd be happy we broke off the engagement. He'd been dying to get rid of me. Now he's suddenly acting all heartbroken. Make it make sense. What are you looking at? Dawson's voice came from right beside me. He'd just lain down, and instantly, my nerves went haywire again. Normally, I wouldn't tell him. It was his nephew, after all. But maybe, just maybe, he'd take my side. So I took a deep breath and handed him the phone. Your nephew sent me a creepy text. Dawson didn't even frown. He read the short message quickly, then looked up at me. Mind if I reply for you? I hesitated, then shook my head. He typed something fast, then passed the phone back to me. I glanced down, and my face went up in flames. Nephew, stop bothering us on our wedding night. You, how could you say that? 20. Mad at me? Dawson leaned closer, and before I even realized it, the space between us had almost disappeared. I shook my head. Not mad, just, didn't expect you to say something like that. Honestly, it wasn't anger, it was embarrassment. The way he'd worded that message, it felt way too bold. Still, Baylor didn't text again after that, so I guess it worked. Just, don't say that kind of thing again, I muttered, putting my phone on the bedside table. I didn't notice the flicker of something dark in Dawson's eyes. The lights went out, leaving only a faint glow from the night lamp. But his presence beside me was impossible to ignore, too steady, too close. Maybe it was just my nerves, but I could almost smell him. His scent, crisp, like pine after snow. Subtle, but magnetic. Just like him. Can't sleep? He asked quietly. Maybe a little. I'm not really used to sleeping next to someone. He didn't respond. Then suddenly, his arm came around me, pulling me against his chest. My whole body froze. His skin was warm, too warm. I'm not going to do anything, he said softly. It's just easier this way. Sleep. And strangely, being held like that did make me feel safer. Maybe it was his pheromones. Maybe it was him. Then it hit me. He still hadn't marked me. I didn't know if he'd forgotten, or if he simply didn't want to. Without a mark, our marriage could still be undone. If he chose to end it, he could. I must have relaxed too much, because by the time I fell asleep, my own pheromones started to leak. When I realized it the next morning, I wanted to sink into the floor. I stiffly pulled away from his embrace and mumbled, "Morning, Uncle." 21. Dawson squinted at me for a long moment before letting out a slow sigh. Morning. So, yeah, our first morning living together wasn't exactly perfect, but all in all, it wasn't terrible either, especially since Dawson clearly didn't like Baylor. Whether it was for my sake or just his own dislike, I didn't care. Either way, it benefited me. As long as I stayed quiet and didn't cause trouble, things would be fine. Or so I thought. I forgot one thing. Just because I stayed out of trouble didn't mean everyone else would. Half a month passed. I hadn't seen Baylor again since that awkward run-in at the gate. Maybe he'd learned his lesson, or maybe Dawson had made sure of it. As for me and Dawson, we were fine. Aside from sleeping in the same bed, there wasn't any other intimate contact. Honestly, it felt more like living with a very disciplined roommate. So when Baylor showed up again, I was in the garden, planting flowers. He stood behind the fence, looking thinner, paler. "Brooks," he called. I didn't answer, just stood up, ready to go back inside. "Brooks." "Wait, what, Baylor? Miss having me around as your personal lapdog?" Even if I ignored him now, I knew he'd come back later. Might as well get it over with. "I'm not," he stammered. "About before, I was wrong." 22. That made me pause. Baylor apologizing? That was new. If I hadn't been seeing it with my own eyes, I'd have sworn he was possessed. "Oh, I see," I said coolly. "Well, too bad, I'll never forgive you." Honestly, I doubted his change of heart. More likely, he'd just run out of suitable omegas to calm his nerves. Sure, other omegas could soothe him, but the higher the rank, the better the effect. And I happened to be one of the rare, high-level ones. He probably just hit another heat cycle and remembered I existed. I know you and my uncle haven't done anything yet, he said suddenly. He hasn't marked you. My hand instinctively went to the back of my neck. True, there was no alpha scent there. That's none of your business. How is it not? Brooks, if I told you I liked you, would you come back to me? I blinked, then laughed out loud. Was he serious? I'd followed him for over a decade, and he'd never shown me a shred of affection. Now, 2 weeks after I married his uncle, he suddenly realized he loved me. Yeah, right, Baylor, I said, staring him down. Do you even hear yourself? You think I'd believe that? He grew frantic. I'm not joking. I know I messed up before. I was young and stupid. I thought you'd always stay by my side. I didn't mean to hurt you. I gave you my pheromones every time you needed comfort, didn't I? 23. That made me laugh. Really laugh. So that's what you call comfort? I asked coldly, forcing my body into heat when it wasn't ready, just so you could make yourself feel better. You knew I wouldn't let you mark me before marriage. You knew what that did to me, and you did it anyway. Baylor looked genuinely guilty for once. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. But now I really do like you. Only after you left did I realize how important you are to me. He hesitated, then added, Uncle Dawson's way older than you. It won't last. And honestly, Brooks, do you really think he likes you? I must have lost my mind to still be standing there listening to him. Part of me must have still had some stupid hope he'd change. Idiot. He froze. What did you say? I said you're an idiot. Whatever happens between me and Dawson, it's none of your damn business. But I do know one thing, I'll never end up happy with you. Baylor's expression twisted, ugly and furious. He looked like he was about to climb over the fence. And I didn't move. I was ready to put him in his place. But before he could even get one leg over, someone grabbed his collar and threw him to the ground. Dawson. He came out of nowhere, radiating anger I'd never seen before. He yanked Baylor up by the shirt and landed punch after punch straight into his face. And despite being an S-rank alpha, Baylor didn't even fight back. That's when it hit me, just how powerful Dawson really was. I had to stop this before things went too far. 24. I stopped Dawson. Enough. You'll kill him if you keep going. Dawson still looked furious, a dangerous glint in his eyes. What? Feeling sorry for him now? I was speechless. No wonder the butler once said Dawson got jealous easily. The man's way of being jealous was completely different from anyone else's. And honestly, I couldn't blame him for thinking that way. Sorry for him. You're overthinking. I just don't want your hands dirty. Come back. At that, most of the rage in Dawson's eyes faded. He returned to his usual calm, collected self. He looked down at Baylor, who was still trembling on the floor. Stealing someone right in front of their family, huh? Looks like you've had way too much free time lately. Dawson's hand was gripping Baylor's chin, blood still smeared across his knuckles. Baylor spat out, you two will never end well. Shut up. Your mouth stinks. Dawson threw him to the ground and wiped his hands on Baylor's shirt before walking back to me. I dropped what I was holding and followed him to the front hall. Dawson gave me one look but didn't say anything. He just went straight to the kitchen to wash his hands. But the silence between us made me even more tense. He could have just asked if something was going on between Baylor and me. That would have been easier to deal with. Come here, he said suddenly. I didn't know what he was up to, but I walked over anyway. He lifted me onto the counter, hands braced on either side of me, caging me in. His fingers brushed the back of my neck, right over my scent gland. Did he ever bite you here? My heat cycle was close, and just his touch made my skin burn. I bit my lip and shook my head. No, I didn't let him. Good boy. 25. The way he said that made my ears turn hot. I tried to look away, but Dawson's hand was still on my neck. Then his lips touched mine. Gentle, careful, like he was afraid I'd break. I'd never kissed anyone before. Instinctively, I tried to pull back, but he didn't let me. Don't move. It's just a kiss, nothing else, he murmured. And he kept his word. It really was just a kiss. But even that was enough to make my knees weak. When he finally let me go, I was limp against his chest. Such a delicate thing, he teased softly. I tugged at his sleeve in protest, which only made him chuckle. What are you going to do about Baylor? I asked. Dawson looked down at me, completely calm. Send him abroad. We've got a project overseas, he can work on that. As we walked up the stairs, I grabbed his sleeve. What if he refuses? He doesn't get a choice. He wasn't wrong. No one dared question Dawson. Baylor left the country soon after, beaten and humiliated. Everyone in our circle knew what happened, but no one dared to talk about it. From that day on, Dawson and I became closer. He showed just how clingy he could be, always wanting a kiss, every day. And I couldn't bring myself to say no. But that's all it ever was, just kisses, until Baylor came back. When I saw him again, I was done. Completely done. That man was like bad luck that refused to leave me alone. 26. I didn't even want to look at him. I turned and started walking back inside. Brooks, your heat's coming soon, isn't it? Baylor called after me. Where's your uncle now? None of your damn business. I could help you, you know. Get lost. I slammed the door in his face. Then I texted Dawson, Baylor's back. He replied almost instantly. Stay home. Don't talk to him. I'll be there soon. I sent back a simple okay. Baylor wasn't wrong though. My heat was close. I could already feel it in my body. But Dawson hadn't said anything about it, so I didn't tell him either. It wasn't a big deal, I thought. I'd just take a suppressor and get through it. Dawson's were strong, with almost no side effects. But before I could inject myself, he walked in, grabbed the needle from my hand, and tossed it aside. The wave of heat made it hard to even breathe. Without the suppressor, I wouldn't make it through the night. I bent down to pick it up, but he caught me in his arms instead. Let me go, Dawson. It hurts. Baby, did you really think your husband was going to sit back and do nothing? You didn't want to mark me, I accused softly. You've done everything else but that. You're just afraid you'll regret it later. Who told you that? Isn't it true? You don't want to mark me because you're planning to leave, right? Divorce me? I was burning up, clawing at my shirt in frustration. 27. My eyes were red when I glared at him. Baby, he said quietly, I wasn't avoiding it because I didn't want you. I was scared you didn't want me. You're younger than me, and you've known Baylor for years. How was I supposed to be sure you didn't still have feelings for him? I don't like him, I whispered, curling into his chest. I found his lips, desperate for his scent, for comfort. The air was thick with his pheromones. It made my head spin, but I wanted more. Then do you like me? He asked. I looked up at him and nodded firmly. With Baylor, I'd never been sure of my feelings, but with Dawson, I knew. This was real. He kissed me again, not gentle this time, pulling me under with every breath. Just before sealing the bond, he hesitated, his thumb brushing the back of my neck. If I mark you, my dear nephew will probably hate me forever, he said with a faint smile. I smirked back, pressing another kiss to his lips. Seems like your body already made that choice. Say my name, he whispered. Dawson. Good. And then, finally, the bond was sealed. When it was over, I was exhausted, covered in bruises. 30-something men really don't know when to stop. I tried to kick him, but he caught my foot and ran his hand along my ankle. Still got energy left? He teased. You didn't use protection, I muttered. He pulled me close, kissed my forehead, and said, then give me a child, We'll see, I said, trying to sound indifferent. Alright, he smiled. Dawson, do you actually like me? He chuckled. I've liked you for a long time. Stealing my nephew's lover might be wrong, but you don't regret it, baby, when it comes to you, never. Me neither, I whispered.